Rylan lived on Orion Station, a place of endless noise, flashing lights, and people always in a hurry, yet his own quarters felt silent and empty. A small box of metal walls where he spent his evenings after long days fixing engines and repairing power lines. His life was simple, sometimes too simple, until one night when a soft knock echoed at his door, strange and hesitant, and when he opened it, he saw a young alien woman standing there, her eyes glowing faintly like silver under the station lights, her cloak worn and travel-stained, her hands clutching a small satchel as if it carried her last hope. She spoke in a calm but trembling voice, telling him she had no credits to pay rent, but could offer something else. "I will do what a man loves most. I will bring peace to your home. I will fold your laundry, and I will make your place warm," she said with a gentle smile. And though her words sounded unusual, almost innocent, there was something in her eyes that held both fear and trust. And Rylan, half amused and half curious, let her step inside, not knowing he was opening his door to far more than a tenant. As days passed, Solari, as she called herself, kept her promise, folding his uniforms with neat care, tidying his cluttered tools, even repairing the broken heating unit in his room. And though she seemed eager to make herself useful, Rylan noticed details that unsettled him. She would tense at every sudden noise in the hallway. Her eyes would dart toward the airlock as though expecting shadows to slip through, and at night she would whisper softly in a language he did not understand, clutching her satchel tightly as if someone might steal it in her sleep. Despite her strange behavior, Rylan found himself drawn to the quiet calm she brought. The way his quarters, once lifeless and cold, now felt like a home again, yet beneath that comfort, he sensed an unspoken story, a weight she carried in silence, and each time he asked about her past, she would only smile and change the subject, leaving him restless with questions. Then, one evening while he returned from the docking bays, he spotted figures in black armor moving through the station corridors, asking shopkeepers about a runaway alien, their visors glowing red, their presence cold and merciless. And when he came back to his quarters, he found Solari sitting in the dark, eyes wide with fear, whispering that they were looking for her. The realization struck him like a bolt. He had taken in not just a tenant, but someone being hunted, someone who carried a secret dangerous enough to send armored pursuers across the stars. And though Rylan's first thought was to tell her to leave before trouble consumed him, the way she looked at him with quiet trust, as if she had chosen his door for a reason, made him hesitate. And in that hesitation, he felt his ordinary life slipping away, replaced by something greater, something unknown. And the suspense of what might come next pressed down on him like the silence before a storm. Rylan tried to act as though life on Orion Station was the same as before. But ever since Solari had stepped into his quarters, the air seemed charged with something unseen, like static waiting to spark. And though she spoke little about her past, her actions spoke more. She folded his uniforms with a precision that suggested discipline, cleaned his cluttered shelves with quiet focus, and even adjusted the settings on his old tools so they hummed smoother than before. Yet it was her behavior when the armored strangers passed through the halls that unsettled him most, for she would lower her head and press her hand against her satchel, her silver-marked skin glinting faintly in the dim light. And Rylan began to wonder if what she carried inside that bag was more valuable than credits or clothes. One evening, as the sound of footsteps echoed outside his door, Solari whispered that her people were hunted not for crimes but for gifts, for her kind could weave energy threads, invisible lines that powered the heart of the station, and such a gift made them targets for those who wished to control the very lifeblood of the trade routes. And as she spoke, her trembling voice carried both fear and defiance, revealing she had been running for months, always hiding, always waiting for someone to betray her. Rylan listened, torn between disbelief and awe, and though he had fixed many machines in his life, the thought that this quiet girl sitting in his quarters could bend the very flow of power itself unsettled him in ways he could not explain. Still, she made no demands, only offering small acts of care, like repairing the broken heater that had left his room cold for weeks, or placing his tools in order after his long shifts. And with each passing day he realized she had brought a kind of warmth he had forgotten, the warmth of another presence, yet it came with a shadow too, for the armored hunters were seen more often near the docking bays, asking questions, scanning faces, and warning citizens about harboring fugitives. Ryland's mind swirled with doubt. Was she truly what she claimed to be? Or was he being pulled into a danger beyond his strength? But when he came home one night, to find her curled in a corner, silent tears slipping down her glowing cheeks, whispering that if the hunters found her, they would not only take the crystal she carried, but also silence her forever. Something inside him shifted, and he felt the weight of choice pressing hard upon him. He could push her away, close the door, and return to his quiet, ordinary life, or he could stand beside her and risk everything for a truth he barely understood. And as the low hum of the station thrummed through the walls, he realized that the moment of decision was no longer far away, that the shadows were already closing in, and that whatever path he chose would soon decide not only her fate, but perhaps his own as well. The peace that had grown fragile inside Ryland's quarters shattered the night. He returned from a repair shift to find the corridor outside crawling with armored hunters, their black suits gleaming under the station's dim lights, their visors glowing red as they scanned door after door, their voices mechanical as they questioned neighbors about a runaway alien. He slipped inside quickly, locking the panel behind him, and found Soleri pressed against the wall, her silver-marked skin pale, her satchel clutched to her chest as though it were her very life. And in that moment he understood the danger was no longer distant, but had arrived at his doorstep, closing in with every measured step of those hunters. She whispered that she had seen them before on other stations, mercenaries who sold their loyalty to the highest bidder. And once they discovered her trail, they would not stop until either she was captured or dead. And though fear burned in her eyes, there was also a strange trust when she looked at him, as if she believed he would not give her away, even though his own survival might depend on it. Ryland felt his stomach twist with uncertainty. He was just a mechanic, not a soldier or hero. Yet he could not ignore the memory of how she had made his empty quarters feel alive again, nor the quiet strength she showed even when fear threatened to break her voice. And he realized that turning her over would not only betray her, but betray himself. For he had always believed humanity's worth was proven not by power or wealth, but by protecting those who needed help most. With that thought, he made a decision that pulled him into the storm. He told Soleri to gather her things, because they could not stay there any longer. The hunters were too close, and the only chance of survival was to vanish into the station's maintenance tunnels, where only engineers and repair crews dared to go. Her eyes widened at his words, both hope and fear flashing across her face, but she obeyed without question, and together they moved quickly, slipping through a side hatch just as heavy boots pounded on the metal floor outside his door. The tunnels were dark, lit only by flickering strips of pale light, the air filled with the hum of machinery and the hiss of steam pipes, and every echo of their footsteps felt too loud, as though the hunters could hear them from afar. Yet Soleri walked close beside him, her hand brushing against the walls, her eyes glowing faintly as she whispered soft words that made the lights flicker, and the panels lock behind them, slowing any who might follow. Ryland felt the weight of fear pressing on his chest, yet at the same time a strange resolve began to grow, for in helping her escape, he was no longer just a mechanic with tired hands and empty evenings. He was someone standing against forces greater than himself, and though the path ahead was uncertain and full of shadows, he sensed that Soleri's secret and the crystal she guarded would soon pull them both into a conflict that reached far beyond Orion's station, a conflict where the choices of one human might decide more than he had ever dreamed. The tunnels beneath Orion's station were a world of their own, endless corridors of metal pipes, tangled wires, and echoing hums, a place where most people never dared to go unless their work demanded it. Yet now Ryland and Soleri moved through them as fugitives, their footsteps echoing like whispers of fear, every corner threatening to reveal armored hunters closing in. Soleri walked close to him, her glowing eyes scanning the walls as if she could see things hidden from human sight, and at times she stretched her hand toward the conduits, murmuring in her strange language, and the power round them seemed to bend, lights dimming or doors jamming shut as though obeying her will. And Ryland realized more than ever that her gift was not rumor, but reality. something rare enough to make her both a treasure and a target. Yet for all her strength, she trembled when the sound of boots clanged far behind them, the hunters following with steady patience, their trackers sweeping for energy trails. And Rylan knew it was only a matter of time before they caught up, unless he could outthink them. Drawing on his years as a mechanic, he led her through shafts and crawl spaces that even security rarely mapped, guiding her with the confidence of one who had repaired the station since his youth. And as they moved, he demanded to know why she risked carrying the satchel that made her so valuable to the hunters. At first she resisted, but finally she unwrapped the small bundle to reveal a glowing crystal core, its light soft yet powerful, pulsing like a living heart. And she explained in a trembling voice that it was no ordinary artifact, but the energy heart of her people, capable of restarting Orion Station's reactors should they ever fail. A treasure meant for the Council, but stolen by those who sought control. And she had sworn to protect it even if it cost her freedom. Rylan felt a chill run through him, realizing the hunters did not simply want her, they wanted power over every soul living in the belt. And by helping her, he was placing himself against forces far larger than he could imagine. Yet when he looked at her, clutching the crystal as if it were both burden and hope, he knew he could not abandon her. Still, the danger was relentless, for in the distance came the sound of machinery grinding, doors forcing open, and the low static of hunter comms filling the tunnels, their search closing in like a tightening net. And Rylan felt the weight of time pressing against them, every second shrinking the gap between safety and capture. He pushed Solari onward, his mind racing for a plan, and as steam hissed from broken vents and shadows danced across the walls, he realized the maintenance tunnels could become both a prison and a weapon, if only he was willing to risk turning the station's guts against its pursuers, a choice that might buy them freedom or trap them forever in the dark heart of Orion Station. Rylan and Solari pressed deeper into the tunnels, the air growing heavier with heat and the sharp scent of burnt metal, every step echoing with the knowledge that the hunters were drawing nearer, their voices distorted through comms that crackled faintly from behind the walls, promising they would not stop until their quarry was found. Solari's strength began to fade as the weight of the crystal core pressed on her, both in her arms and in her spirit, yet she walked with determination, whispering that if the hunters claimed it, Orion Station would not remain free, for the one who held the core could command its very lifeblood, and with it, control every trade route in the belt. Rylan listened, his heart caught between fear and resolve, and though he knew he was no warrior, he began to see the value of what she carried and the trust she had placed in him, a simple mechanic who had never been asked to fight for more than his daily survival. As they paused in a narrow shaft where dim blue lights flickered above them, Rylan noticed the exhaustion in her eyes, the way her hands trembled, and in that quiet moment he pulled his old jacket from his pack, placing it gently around her shoulders, a small act, but one that drew a fragile smile from her, and in that smile he found a spark of courage he didn't know he had. Yet their moment of stillness was shattered when a loud metallic clang rang out in the distance, followed by the echo of boots striking fast and hard against the steel, a sound that rolled closer with each second, and Rylan knew they were out of time. Gripping his wrench, the only weapon he carried, he whispered a promise that he would not let her fall into their hands, then guided her toward the reactor wing, a labyrinth of noise and heat that only a mechanic like him could navigate. As they moved through the glowing heart of the station, Solari revealed something more if they reached the council hall and delivered the core. She believed the leaders would grant her people sanctuary and protect the station from falling into enemy hands, but to reach it they would have to pass through guarded sectors crawling with patrols. Rylan felt the weight of the choice pressing on him harder than ever. Help her and risk being hunted until the end, or abandon her and return to safety. But when she carefully folded his torn sleeve, where it had ripped against a sharp pipe, smoothing it down with that same quiet grace she had shown since the night she arrived, he felt her trust in him like a living flame, and he knew the decision had already been made. With the sound of the hunters spreading through the tunnels like a rising tide, he set his jaw and led her onward, not as a landlord or tenant, but as an ally, ready to face whatever storm was about to break upon them both. The final run to the council hall was a blur of pounding footsteps, alarms blaring, and the cold certainty that the hunters were only seconds behind, their heavy armor clattering through the tunnels like an iron storm. Yet Rylan pushed forward with Solari at his side, guiding her through hidden passages only a mechanic would know, his heart hammering as each door hissed open by a fraction before sealing shut again, under Solari's touch as she bent the power threads to shield their path. When at last they emerged into the wide chamber of the council hall, its towering walls of glass and steel glowing with the energy of the station's core, they were met not with safety, but with the sudden crash of armored figures, bursting through the opposite entrance, weapons raised, their red visors cutting through the haze like the eyes of predators. And for a brief moment the hall seemed frozen, human council guards staring in shock as a single mechanic and a trembling alien girl stood between a squad of hunters and the crystal that pulsed with the power of a star. Rylan felt fear grip his chest, yet when Solari's hand brushed his arm, steady despite her exhaustion, something inside him broke free of doubt, and raising nothing but his wrench, he stepped forward to block the path, his voice ringing out across the chamber that if they wanted her, they would have to go through him. And in that defiance, a ripple of humanity's stubborn spirit filled the hall. The hunters advanced, their steps heavy, but Solari lifted the crystal high, her eyes blazing silver as the energy within it burst outward in a wave of pure light, the surge striking the hunters' armor and shorting their systems, sparks flying as their visors flickered and their bodies staggered under the force. Rylan seized the moment, swinging his wrench with the strength of desperation, driving one back and buying precious seconds as council guards rushed forward to secure the hall, their shouts echoing above the chaos. The battle was brief but fierce, and when at last the last hunter fell, smoke rising from his cracked armor, silence swept the chamber, broken only by the soft hum of the crystal still glowing in Solari's hands. The council members, their faces pale with the weight of what they had witnessed, approached slowly, hearing her explanation and Rylan's vow that without her gift, the station would have been lost to those who sought to enslave it. And though suspicion lingered in their eyes, they could not deny what they had seen: a mechanic who risked everything for someone he barely knew, and an alien girl whose quiet courage had saved them all. Permission for sanctuary was granted, the crystal placed under protection, and when the chaos finally faded, Rylan returned to his quarters, weary yet alive, finding once more his uniforms neatly folded on the table, a simple act that now carried the memory of everything they had faced together. And as he sat in the small warmth of his once empty home, he realized that humanity's greatest strength was not its machines or its weapons, but the choice to stand when no one else would, to protect and to trust, even when the stars themselves seemed against them.